the worst case you've seen of someone trying to play the victim when it was all their own fault? Story 1. Local business owner friend asked a lot of his regular customers to invest in his new business in Atlanta by buying shares. I bought in, knowing we wouldn't break even for at least 3 years, but that he could sell religion to the Pope, had losses for 2 years, break even if 3 as predicted. For years in, he closes the Atlanta store and opens in another town, but this time he's doing it all with his own money. Bullshit. He's doing it with the inventory and proceeds from the Atlanta store, even has a shiny new house, cars, the works for his new venture. He's shocked to the core and hurt. I tell you, hurt and disappointed when all the shareholders took him to court. Edit wow. This blew up, thank for the gold and the comments and the concern. Our lawsuit basically never got off the taxiway. And, as one of the good Redditors below mentioned, it soon looked like the cost of going through the courts would quickly outpace our losses. People started dropping off, and it fell apart. The original store and the Atlanta store were closed. Those bridges he well and truly burned. The final store has changed names, but appears to be going strong. No way will I name the business. I don't doubt for a second that while we smaller potato investors weren't ready for a long court fight, the owner would have no qualms about bringing a defamation suit against me in a heartbeat. Sometimes, karma is just asleep at the wheel, and you have to accept it. Story 2. An older lady walked into a construction area where she knew she wasn't supposed to go just to snoop around when the workers weren't there, and then sued because she slipped on a plastic floor covering. She worked there, she knew the area was off limits, did it anyway. Story 3. My cat plays with the closet door and sometimes shuts himself in. Then I get an angry cat yowling to get let out and acts like I'm the one that locked him in there. Story 4. When I was teaching, I had a student I adored who had some behavior problems. I did everything I could to support him. One day we were taking a test, and he was talking. I reminded him several times that talking during a test is not allowed, and I would have him go in the hallway if he continued. He continued talking, so I told him to go into the hall. He called me autistic on his way out, his favorite insult. And so I wrote him a referral. I called his parents, and they didn't answer. So I sent an email explaining what happened, that he got a referral, and that I hope we can work together to help him manage his reactions. His mother responded saying that my behavior is unacceptable and that she is done speaking with me, and I will hear from her lawyer. She went all the way up to the district level to complain about me, telling all sorts of lies and making me look like a horrible person. I don't teach anymore. Story 5. My friend's sister. She doesn't feed her kids, nor send the oldest one 7 to school. Her neighbors reported her to CPS, and now she's posting statuses about how cruel people are for separating a mother her kids. Story 6. I was in a crowded parking lot, driving around looking for a space. There was one car ahead of me. The car ahead of me stopped, so I stopped as well, and not sure why she stopped because there were no empty spaces and no one was pulling out, but whatever. Then, before I even had time to react, her reverse lights came on, and she came flying backwards towards me. I didn't even have time to honk. She slammed into the front of my car, got out of her car, and started screaming that I hit her. When officers arrived, she was crying and shaking and complaining that her neck hurt, and cursing me for slamming into the back of her car. Thankfully, 2 people had been walking through the parking lot when this occurred and told the officer what really happened. Later, the driver of the car that hit me tried to tell her insurance company that I knew the witnesses, and that's why they lied. I didn't know the witnesses, by the way. At any rate, if the witnesses hadn't stuck around to give statements, I'd have been screwed. Story 7. Facebook drama from a few years ago. This girl was leaving a bar drunk, and she backed her car into the car of someone she was an acquaintance with while exiting the parking lot. Then the next day, went off on him for telling the police he saw her do it, when he knew she was poor and could have just said he didn't see it and had his insurance pay. She kept digging a deeper hole, and all the replies were like, "Don't drive drunk." It was glorious. Story 8. I lost a lot of weight, 150 pounds. My overweight friend didn't. I don't care. She's my friend. I love her. I tried on a pair of size 12, size 8 US jeans, but they were too big, so asked for the smaller size. Before I could try them on, my friend stormed out of the shop, and when I followed her, she screamed at me for rubbing my weight loss in her face. I lost the weight in 2015. I've been this size for 4 years. Story 9. My crazy college girlfriend cheated on me and then blamed me for causing problems in our relationship by being obsessed with the truth as I figured out what had happened. Edit, this was a long time ago, but it amuses me that 10,000 people have rolled their eyes at her. Story 10. My best friend's ex-girlfriend. Basically, her ex was kicked out of her parents' house when she told them she was a lesbian. She moved in with my best friend since they were dating at the time. At first, she told me that she was too depressed to find a job. My best friend was okay with that, even if it meant she'd have to work more, which she did. She even found a second part-time job, For the next 6 months, whenever my best friend asked her if she found a job, she'd always get the too depressed response. Eventually, my best friend finds out her girlfriend cheated on her. Her excuse for cheating was, "You're always at work and never have time for me. I need someone who will be there for me." My best friend kicks her out, and then her ex blames her for having to move back in with her parents. The kicker turns out her parents never really kicked her out. She was just tired of them telling her to get a job. Story 11. My ex-husband got arrested for having child. He blamed me, saying it was my fault. He was so depressed, he went looking for it. Edit, I did not expect this comment to get so much attention. Thank you for the supportive comments. Some follow-up his depression defense work. He was given 8 months house arrest. No jail time. Fast forward several years to now. He is sitting in jail awaiting trial, charged with first-degree abuse of a minor. Story 12. My sister's friend was beaten up by her boyfriend and stayed the night downstairs of our house with her 3 kids. Next day, he comes around, starts cursing her out, saying she stole his kids, grabs the baby, and start walking away with him. She chases him, trying to get the baby back, and he punches her several times in the face. My brother intervenes and separated them. This leaves and brings back the cops to arrest my brother for assault. Story 13. Sometimes my children ask me why they've met my mother but never met my father. I tell them he died a long time ago when I was a kid. In reality, my dad used to be an abusive drunk, and my mother had to kick him out because he used to beat on us kids. We used to spend weekends at his new house, but around the time I turned 10, he told my mother to stop dropping us off and gave her a shoe box full of all the pictures he had of us. We tried calling him on holidays every now and again, but he finally just told us to stop contacting him altogether. Last year, my mother passed away, and he decided to reach out to me and expressed he had changed and wanted to make things up to me. I told him it was okay. I filled him in on how I was doing in life and sent him pictures of my children, but I expressed I was already a man and don't need a father anymore. But he was forgiven for the 20-year absence. He then proceeded to tell me that I'm horrible for pushing him away and abandoning him, that he was dying and just wanted to fix things. So I just explained to him it's already forgiven, but he abandoned me, and I had no time for his foolishness. I wish things would have been different, but he's too much of a bad influence to allow in my children's lives. Edit ID. Like to thank everyone for the positive support and encouragement. I hope everyone who shared a similar experience can find happiness regardless of us having crappy upbringings. Story 14. An employee was being fired for a multitude of infractions at a coffee shop. He had been caught by management calling customers things like dumb and stupid under his breath, and several customers had also reported the behavior. He was constantly late or would leave early or beg others to cover his shift. Instead of restocking or cleaning the area during downtimes, he would take out his drumsticks and practice, which annoyed the other employees and customers. During inventory counts, we noticed whole pallets of sandwiches or baked goods were missing, as well as bottled drinks, etc. We were mysteriously out of huge 5-pound bags of the espresso roast. The numbers were not adding up. He was subsequently fired after being caught bad-mouthing a customer while a visiting manager was also in the cafe. The guy didn't know it. The guy blamed all the issues on everyone else. Late to work turned into I missed the bus or my roommate forgot to wake me up in time. Leaving early turned into, well, I got a call for a gig. There was a concert I wanted to see. Food missing turned into I didn't have money to eat, and it's the company's responsibility to ensure him fed while on the clock. Calling customers names turned into they misunderstood. Me management said, what part of calling a customer a dumb is a misunderstanding? Followed. Oh, not my fault they're so sensitive. All this dude's problems were blamed on everyone else, and all his issues and situation in life was blamed on everyone else. Us employees stopped inviting him out because at bars he would order drinks and tell the bartender one of us was covering and skip out or leave rapidly before check was presented to us. He would also walk around tables when people got up to dance or talk in a group and guzzle down their drinks. He was an all-over shitty person. Found out after he was fired from our store, he was hired by Starbucks in the mall, who failed to call for a reference or check even though our store was listed as previous place of employment. He was caught stealing money and food from there too. Edit. I wanted to add this was our worst employee. We had another guy who worked his off but had a generally bad demeanor, but he was a solid hard worker. One day, he sat down and watched the drummer dude spout his mouth off and treat customers like and turned to me and said, I hope to God I don't sound or act like that. Just from watching this one guy, the other employee became a model customer service employee almost overnight. Also, we had another guy there. He went by some weird animal name instead of his real name. He was sent home for showing up drunk several times and was let go after management found he snuck a bottle of vodka in and was adding it to girls' drinks during the late shift. Story 15, this guy got upset, saying we were always talking about him behind his back. He would creep up to the door in our apartment and stand there listening to our conversations. Of course, we would talk about him. He owed 2 of us over $600 and refused to pay it. And then we were the bad people because we would talk about it in our own apartment, not knowing he is creeping around the door. Story 16, my brother. Our whole life has blamed our middle-class upbringing for him, taking zero responsibility. He's basically a 40-year-old version of no one gets me. He spent his money recklessly, has turned down opportunities to advance himself in lieu of making YouTube videos in his shed, ranting about how richies keep him down. It's pathetic. Story 17, my BL, wife's brother. Everything is terrible in his life because everyone conspires to be mean to him. All his drug problems are other people's fault. The government never should have taken his kid from him because he's a good father. When his disabled mother got custody of his kid and then let him move in with them, she made up all those stories about him hitting her and the kid. When the government, both APS and CPS, told us we had to protect him from him, we had no right to take his kid that he hadn't had custody of for years. He lives off disability for back problems he's had since getting a beat down for running his mouth at the wrong people despite the fact his doctors tell him he doesn't need a wheelchair and can work. It's our fault he can't pay his bills, even though he's still living in his mother's house rent-free, and that surely has nothing to do with the fact that he blows his disability check on drugs and junk food as soon as he gets it in his mind. We abandoned him to die and are horrible people for not letting him live with us despite the fact that the government literally put his mother and kid in our care to keep them safe from him. He came up with a scheme where he called 911 to be taken to the local hospital. When he got there, he told them he was dying because he was wheelchair-bound and abandoned in a squalid house. The house became squalid after the mother and kid were removed because he refused to clean and had a dog he never let outside. He actually got Adult Protective Services to call us and tell us we had to take care of him and fix up his house. By the way, we live 250 miles away in a different state. We explained the history and gave them the names of the caseworkers for his mother and son, who know him well. APS confirmed what we told them. When APS told him we didn't agree to let him live with us, he demanded they file a court order to force us to allow him to live in our home. APS told him that wasn't actually a thing that could happen, so he started screaming profanities at everyone in the hospital. She called us from the hospital. We heard him screaming. When the doctors told him again he didn't need a wheelchair, he screamed at them. They discharged him, but he refused to leave on his own. So they sent him home in an ambulance. He refused to get out, so they wound up driving him back to the hospital and leaving him on a gurney in the ER waiting room. After 8 hours, when he still refused to leave, they had security drag him out and dump him in the parking lot. A few weeks later, he's calling us, begging us to pay his bills, and goes off again on how we had no right to take his kid from him, and we're terrible people because we refuse to acknowledge what a good father he is. He lives in the rural South. Do you know what it takes for CPS to take your kid in a poor county in the South? We're talking immediate danger to life. Not only did they do that, and then a judge permanently took away his custody, but then they came back and said the kid and his mother weren't safe in the same house as him. And we stole his kid. I raised my kids. They've graduated and are adults. I have zero desire to raise another kid, let alone one who has significant emotional issues from being abused. But guess what? I am, because I'm not a total piece of, and I can't turn my back on them. But in my brother-in-law's eyes, this is all a vast conspiracy to spite him. Story 18, I'm so glad when I see these questions because I can talk about my sister. She has always been a loose cannon, creates chaos wherever she goes, constantly playing the victim, thinks the world owes her everything. Anyways, one day she calls my mom claiming the place she was staying in was a cult. Weird, right? But we don't ask questions mistakes. She also claims that she was abused by someone and he is following her. Okay, who's going to tell anyone that's not true? She also claims that she's been watching by some weird government agency. What even? Anyways, after all of this, my mom says she can stay with us temporarily. Sister says maximum 2 weeks. Okay, for reference, my mom and I were living in an apartment that had a total of 5 rooms, kitchen, small random area that was 10 by 10, bathroom, my room, which was the living room, and my mom's room. So basically we had no space. Also, my mom has no money at all. She is just enough for rent and food. But that's with me even chipping in some every now and then. But she is family, so I don't mind sharing my room with my sister for 2 weeks. She gets there and right away says she has no money. But she wants a job where she has to take the turnpike to a highly populated city. So my mom gives her change jar for tolls only. Should have been about 5 days. My sister uses 80 of my mom's change jar within a month's time. She was using it for gas, bills, food, anything and everything, but whatever, right? Shitty, but whatever. Nothing to call the constable over. Then she says, I still haven't found a place to live. I need 2 more weeks. Okay, fine. But you need to start helping us pay bills and such. She has a fit, freaks out, says the entire family hates her, whatever. Perhaps she's just being dramatic. Mom gives her leeway on the bills until sister feels more financially sound. Then my stepdad unexpectedly dies. My sister didn't even like my stepdad. So she's basically like, whatever, he's dead. And my mom is obviously torn. Her best friend died. So my sister goes into my mom's room 2 days after he passed away and says, Mom, you should go into a mental hospital. You're having a psychotic break. Excuse me. She said this because my mom had been crying since she found out he died. Obviously, who TF wouldn't? Then my sister invites her children to come and live with us. Her 12 and 9-year-old daughter and son. Where are we going to put them? Who's going to pay for them? She didn't even ask. Then she posted something on Instagram and it had a reference, me being the youngest, commented W like I always do whenever my siblings make comments about. It's kind of a fun thing between us because my siblings laugh and I laugh and it lightens whatever mood. She starts acting really nasty to me, telling me my niece and nephew hate being there. Because of me, they don't like me and making mom's life hard, etc. All because of my comment. Eventually, all breaks loose and sister is screaming and fighting with my mom, telling her the nastiest stuff, refusing to leave, literally going crazy, hitting stuff, throwing stuff, threatening suicide, saying everyone hates her, telling my mom she was the cause of my sister's hard life, like what? All this stuff that is too long to write on a Reddit post. So my mom says, you've been here for 2 months and haven't helped with bills. You have to go. She refuses. She calls the cops, claiming we are unlawfully trying to evict her, what? Anyway, so my mom finally just told the landlord she couldn't stay there because of my stepdad's passing and that she was leaving. We all came, packed up mom's stuff, and left. I don't know where she went after that, but I haven't talked to her since. She still claims the family hates her because of me and my mom. She claims we didn't help her. She claims that the house fell apart because of me. She claims we all should have done more for her. She claims we don't love her, and XYZ is why. She's the shittiest version of human Eve ever come in contact with. Edit, thank you everyone for the responses. To answer some questions and clear things up, my mom has been a psych nurse for over 40 years, and she also thinks my sister has BPD. My sister will not seek treatment. My mom got my sister to go to therapy like 3 times, and my sister left and said that the therapist was trying to make her seem crazy. My stepdad lived a couple states away. He wanted to go be with his adult children because they were in bad spots, drugs, poverty, etc. He died in July via heart attack. He was supposed to move back in with us in August. It is my sister that I don't talk to anymore. My mother and I have a very strong bond. I wouldn't trade her for the entire world. My sister believed the place she was living in prior was a cult because the people tried to make her go to church on Sundays. When we told her that doesn't make them a cult, she freaked out and said that we didn't care about her, we weren't there with her to experience them, etc. There was nothing we could really say to her about it then. She shut down the whole conversation. We never got answers to her believed government stalker. She would usually babble until we were totally lost in her story. Story 19. A woman rear-ended my car in the car wash of all places. She failed to put her car in neutral and rolled right into me. She then proceeded to yell at me and insist that it was my fault for not going fast enough. After we finally convinced her that the track always goes the same speed, she decided to blame the CAR wash employee for making the track too slow. Story 20. My ex-GF tried to get me arrested for assault and rape. Turns out it was her boyfriend that she cheated on me with who did it to her. She wanted money, so she blamed me. Story 21. Cheaters on rant or Rothmichist. I'm so torn between these 2 men. Woe is me. Happens repeatedly. One guy victimized himself for catfishing, claimed it was totally harmless. I believe he was just trying to prove to himself that he isn't a terrible person. Story 22. My mom ruined my courthouse wedding, called me selfish, and made fun of my shoes on my wedding day. It made me swear to her that I wouldn't tell our family I was getting married until we had a big ceremony, then proceeded to go behind my back and tell people anyway. She is now genuinely surprised that I am upset and going around crying to all my aunts and uncles about how her only daughter will not speak to her. Story 23. Not the worst case I've had experience with, but when I kicked my abusive ex out of my house, he started playing the homeless victim card bad. Understand, when I kicked him out, it had been 10 months after we broke up. He strong-armed me into letting him live with me when I got a better place, and he got kicked out of his friend's house. I was the only one working. He refused to watch her child while I was at work. He would get aggressive and violent if I even talked to another guy. And there were multiple cases of my best friend, an only ally, would have to basically kidnap me to get me away from him and keep me safe. Yeah, it was all just a up mess, but he started telling everyone I was this crazy, horrible person, how I kept him from seeing our daughter, and how I was being because I was jealous. For years afterwards, everyone believed him, and I lost every friend I had. Thankfully, this story got a happy ending. It's been years since this happened, and now I'm in a healthy, happy, and safe environment. I met and married an amazing human being who held my hand and had my back when I started going to therapy to heal the wounds that were left, and is the father of my youngest. My daughter is now 9 and is an amazingly sweet and strong girl. And I have an amazing group of friends who are the best support team could ask for. Story 24 guy breaking up with me to be with another girl, then expecting me to sympathize with his hurt. No, you spat me out like gum, and calling you out, don't claim you don't deserve it. I don't talk to him anymore, edit. I should mention, he tried to get my current boyfriend to break up with me by saying I was an emotional water balloon as well as pointing out my weight. The girl he left me for is just as heavy as me. Story 25, maybe my ex-wife. Pretty standard stuff. As boyfriend and girlfriend, we had all kinds of kinky, oral, strap-on, roleplay, etc. I've never really been a huge fan of vanilla. Anyway, we get married, and as time goes on, she starts dropping all the fun activities and only wants pretty basic. Nothing wrong with that. Just wasn't what I was into. So our life plummeted, but I was okay with that. She really wasn't, and eventually wanted an open marriage. I consented, it'll spare the details, but she found someone fast, forbid me from sleeping with someone when I finally found them because she wasn't ready for it. And when this all came to a head and we separated, she went around blaming for forcing her to have with someone else. Story 26, I was drugged and raped by one of my religious leaders at about 20, and to help me cope with it, I started seeing a therapist and made a dedicated journal to all these dark thoughts, where instead of trying to tell myself, I'm okay, life's okay. Yep, didn't happen, I'm fine. I could write all the deepest, darkest my brain was thinking. I did not tell my wife about my event, but she has a tendency of being snoopy, constantly woke up to her about 2 to 3 a.m. going through my phone. So I tell her about the journal, that this is one thing under no circumstances she can read, that it is extremely personal, and if she wishes to read it at some point, she needs to talk to me about it, and I will decide if I feel it is necessary or beneficial. Of course, one day she comes out and says she read it. The excuse was terrible, and she's mad at me that I didn't tell her sooner, that as my wife, I should be comfortable telling her anything and everything. As the following weeks go by, I'm very angry with her, and she remains adamant that it was my fault because I didn't tell her sooner and that I should change my stance on things I tell her. A few months go by, and I'm still upset. Our relationship is still rocky, and she says, oh wow, I thought you were over that by now. And I reply back with, no, of course, I'm still upset you betrayed my trust. To which she responds, oh, I thought you were over the journal thing a while ago. I thought you'd be over your event by now. With the therapy you've been doing, this was as insensitive as it gets. Needless to say, she's now my ex-wife. Edit, wow, thank you for the award. Generous stranger, my first ever. Thank you kindly. Story 27, this girl accused a teacher, who had been there for over 40 years, of assault right before her entrance exam. It was a really good private school, so you needed to take a test to be considered for admission. The accusations were investigated and were found completely unfounded almost immediately. I don't know what this girl was thinking, like maybe she thought it was a way for her to get some leverage and improve her chances of getting in or something. On top of that, the actions of the school were even worse. They kept him in the dark for 2 months after the investigation was completed and were refusing to allow him back because of their insurance. Then a campaign was launched by a bunch of alums, and he finally got back to teaching. Until his death a few years ago, he was a great guy too. I had him for political theory class, and he was really nice. He and his wife, aside from having children of their own, took in foster kids all the time, and he did a lot of other volunteer work. Sucks he had to go through all of that because some teenage girl lied. Story 28, my 50-something-year-old mom's very frequent non-sober calls and hysterics about how her life is ruined. This was after she turned our lives upside down with her alcoholism and drug abuse throughout her childhood. Went to rehab 5 times and relapsed every time, was given literal countless chances by my dad and family to start fresh, including amazing job and housing opportunities, nearly bankrupted my dad, forced him to move and raise 6 children on his own, and eventually lost relationships with all of her family and children except me, up until 12 years ago when I received a call that she again, got herself kicked out of her free housing arrangement and lost her job before it even started, forcing me to go pick her up on the side of the road and crash at my apartment for the night. I remember when I was scrambling to hide all of the alcohol and pills in my place before getting her, then picking her up and her crying that my dad was still ignoring her and wouldn't give her money anymore. It really hit me that ID finally had enough. Victimizers, am I right, guys? Story 29, this girl at my work is not proactive at all, always refusing to cooperate, always saying she's too busy already. Me and my colleagues always agree to complete the extra tasks and to do it as fast as possible. There are 4 people in my sector, When the bosses show clear enough that they prefer me and my friends instead of this girl, she will start to say that they are misogynist and racist causes. She is not white and not. I mean, what the? She's just and can't realize it. Story 30, a former friend and housemate, who I stupidly let live at my place rent-free and who I gave some pretty significant help towards lawyer fees, lost her mind when I started voicing my concerns over her new boyfriend. She was still technically married to another man, and the new boyfriend was into all sorts of cultish, new age, spirit science craziness. Oh, and they would do things like make these lavish meals in the kitchen and not clean up, or block my car in the driveway. Then she went on a rant in which she compared me to her abusive, soon-to-be ex-husband, because I hadn't put away a container of cinnamon immediately after using it. When I served an eviction notice to the B-bomb, she gave Academy Award-level performance for melodrama of her own making. Story 31, this girl who was in my school made a hate account against herself and got super pissed if anyone insinuated SP. It was her. She'd say like, maybe this person is right, when one caption was the world would be a better place without this, etc. Story 32, I once witnessed a car accident where a lady blew a red light, and another car whose light had clearly turned green didn't see her and hit her broadside. The innocent driver had her view obscured by my vehicle also entering the intersection, was able to stop, but she couldn't. After the impact, witnesses stopped to help, and the lady who ran the red light tried to argue she was going through on a yellow and that her neck hurt. Apparently, she had the nerve to attempt a lawsuit over it, because I was later interviewed deposed over the phone by a crazy lattice lawyer who tried to trip me up by saying another witness claimed to be the same place I was. Too bad, man. I was right there, and there's no way in heck you can paint me as an unreliable witness for your client to steal money from an innocent for her own stupid mistake. Story 33, yo, I have a good one. In middle school, this kid would constantly bully me. It got to the point where most of our class hated him because I was nice to everyone and considered one of the popular kids. The rest of the class gave him and refused to include him in anything. It was to the point where a whole auditorium of 100 kids ganged up against him when he called me a retard. They didn't beat him up or anything. They just called him out. Well, he didn't like it, so he decided to falsify bullying claims against me and act like I was harassing him. He did it every gym class. If he was in my group playing hockey, then he would deliberately position himself to get whacked by my stick whenever I tried to hit the ball and claim I did it on purpose. He would get what few friends he had to claim I was bullying him. Of course, I did my best to avoid him, and everyone knew it. He once crushed the water bottle I had bought with what little personal money I had back then. My teachers informed the gym teachers about him, so they never believed him. Story 34, oh boy. It's like you knew I'd be answering this question. There was this guy ill called Chappie because it sounds close enough to a nickname I have him, which eventually became how everyone knew him. He got himself a girlfriend, he gaslighted all the time. He also was a close friend of mine and of many other guys. Chappie would always play the victim. Chappie would always guilt trip. Chappie would always make you arrange your life around his wishes. Well, he made his girlfriend cry 3 times a week, then come to me asking what he did wrong if I called him out, had make excuses he never accepted his wrongdoings. One day I was walking my dog, and in a particularly foul mood, Chappie asked to play a video game on a group chat we were in. I left him on read. So, did other guys in the group? Oh boy, what a big mistake. Chappie started throwing passive-aggressive, all because we didn't reply to him in 4 minutes. For minutes I got tired of his. He had been doing this for the past month. And I woke up grumpy. I snapped, I called him out. He played the victim. Another friend called him out and backed me up. Chappie came to us via private message, threatening my friend and guilt-tripping me. I gave him cold replies. My friend wished him good luck. I blocked him, so did my friend. Chappie lived in a different country. So, of course, he couldn't come and find me. His girlfriend lives in the same country I do, and therefore a different country from Chappie. They were in LDR. I blocked Chappie and left him, essentially severing any chance of him talking to me without going through a friend. 4 days later, I come to find that what I did to Chappie, his girlfriend did too. He woke up on their 9-month anniversary date, completely ghosted. The guy played the victim, but nobody really supported him. They all figured out that the way he was treating us, his friends, was the same as he treated his now ex-girlfriend. He played the victim and cried wolf a lot. Now nobody wanted to be with him when he really needed it. Moral of the story, you don't realize how quickly you can lose everything for being one. Ex-husband, never got a job until I literally got him one. When I got out of the military, he wanted to move to a particular town he used to live and work in, despite his current employment and me getting a really good job offer as a civilian on base. We agreed that he'd get his prior job back. He assured me he was cool with the manager, and I'd use my GI Bill to finish school and raise our son, since I'd missed his first steps being in the military. 10 months later, I've had to get a job and run through my savings, and I find out from one of my best friends who ex-husband had worked with at the job. He was assured to get that my ex knew the manager didn't work there anymore and wasn't going to get his old job back. So I'd given up a good-paying job for a shitty one, used up my savings, etc. I told my ex that I wanted a divorce in November after he forgot my birthday and moved out mid-December. Mind you, ID paid out my lease until it ran out at the end of January on the condition that he mind our dogs because I couldn't afford both apartments and a pet deposit. All I said when I left was I wanted him to get a job and be a dad. Those were literally the only two conditions I ever put on us working things out. Anywho, get the dogs back and they're malnourished, and ex had told everyone that I was an evil for leaving him high and dry. This was in 2013-ish, and eventually every one of his friends has kicked him out for not getting a job. He does have a job now, and likes to brag about things he and his girlfriend do, and I'm not mad at his girlfriend, but I feel sorry for her, because I know for a fact he cheated on her multiple times, and for the first few years of their relationship he chose her over our child. As in, he disappeared for 2 years, and blamed me for that as well, when I begged him over and over to be a dad. So when he says I'm A and only see him as a source of child support, he's not wrong.